If you have any questions today, feel free to just go ahead and stop me at any time and we can pause for questions, or you can go ahead and drop it into the chat. I will also be looking at that. So if you have any questions, go ahead and just engage me those two ways and I will go ahead and address them. To start really quick here today, I'm going to go ahead and show you really quick these two QR codes for our community groups on LinkedIn. So one of them is our IT spend management group, which is where we have a LinkedIn group just for talking about the 9 phases in the life cycle of an IT asset and kind of what we do, as well as our vManager user group, which is where we talk about new releases coming out. Sometimes we'll do voting as far as what would you like to see next, just any sort of random questions that pop up there, some additional resources, things like that we're getting started for our vManager user group. So feel free and take a second to go ahead and use your iPhone or whatever kind of phone you have to take a picture of that QR code, and it will link you to both of those groups. Hello, I am your speaker today. My name is Courtney Cordova. I am the Software Adoption Team Lead here at vCom Solutions, and I will be talking through all of today's content in the 101 webinar. And to start that off, we're just going to really quickly kind of go through our agenda of what we're going to be doing today. So a little bit about vCom and vManager, quick recap for that, for those of you that are new onboarded customers that may be listening to this later as well. So quick reminder of who we are, what we do, then show you some resources that we have outside of just these webinars, and then we'll hop into getting into vManager. And of course, Q&A at the end, but also, as I mentioned, feel free to just drop things in the chat as we go if you have questions as well. All right, so you may have heard from our vCom account team at some point the reference to 4963. So what does that mean? It's kind of just the way that we simplify who we do and what we are, and what we do and who we are and how we accomplish that. So the 4 represents the 4 different business units that fall under the umbrella of vCom Solutions. So we have our managed services business unit, which is how we help you procure services through carriers and vendors. Our buyers club, which is that specific kind of wholesale channel that has the most robust kind of support as well as visibility in the platform. We have financing for things like hardware and such with carriers through us. And then we also have our software platform. So this is all things vManager and kind of, you know, any way in which our software supports you throughout any of these other products that we have. The 6 is represented by the 6 buckets of technology that we can help you manage. So if you're only in one of these buckets right now, this is just kind of a heads up. Hey, be aware of this is all the different services that we'd like to support you with, the bubbles across the bottom: network, mobile, collaboration, cloud, hardware, and SaaS. And the 9 is represented by this wheel, which shows the 9 phases in the life cycle of an IT asset. And these are, you know, fairly industry covering, but this is just kind of the wheel that we came up with to represent that, and to also, you know, represent in our tool where to navigate when you're at any of these points in the lifecycle process. And then of course the 3, last but certainly not least, the 3 values that vCom wants to deliver for every single one of our customers. And that is saving time, giving you money back as possible, maximizing that shareholder value, and then of course providing visibility of information. And really today the software vManager is this big one right here, this value, visibility of information. So that is just a quick rundown of vCom and some of the things you may have heard us reference while working with us so far. So let's go ahead and get into vManager. So hopefully you can see my screen. Let me know if not. But this is the first thing that you will see when you log into vManager. And as you may notice, across the top are all of those same modules that were in that 9 phases of a lifecycle asset wheel. And that, as I mentioned, is how you navigate vManager. So depending on what you need to do or where you need to find what you're looking for, think about the phase that that's already in. Is it a request for new services? Is this already an open order or an existing asset? Are we looking for billing information? Trying to run some reports, things like that. And that's how you find what you're looking for in the tool. The first thing that you see is this home page, which at the top here, you will have a universal search bar. So you can go ahead and type in any sort of service type, location name. If you have a specific telephone number or circuit ID, you could type that in, things like that. And the system will go ahead and pull any inventory, tickets, orders associated to that. And at any time on any other page in the tool, you'll see the little spyglass icon here. And that's where you can click on it and expand this bar to have universal search capabilities throughout vManager. Below that, you'll see my action items. So if you're new, this might be blank, but we tend to put anything here that, of course, as you would imagine, we want you to start taking action on. So for example, we have a service order pending approval, and you can click this approve button to be taken to that service order to view and approve as needed, or this contracts pending renewal report saying, hey, you have 4 services that you need to have your eye on so you can avoid any carrier cost increases, things like that. If you have any accounting errors, file errors, those will pop up here. From random time, we'll add certain short-term items like registering for our vManager certification, our in-depth class. So different things like that that we just want to call attention to you in the tool. And then below that is my favorites. So these are quick links to areas of vManager. There's going to be a standard set of 6 here when you're first, or 12, excuse me, here that you're going to have defaulted when you're first starting out in our tool. But as you get more comfortable in vManager and find what you're looking for, you can start favoriting your own pages. And this is great even for these types of tools where there are different tabs for all the different spend types. So if you know you're a mobile focused person only, instead of having to always navigate to orders and then click that mobile tab, you can just hit the little star icon in the top right. And once it's highlighted yellow, you know that it's been added to your favorites, and now you'll be able to see it here. That's the first link you'll see. And so it's a quick link to that page. And if you ever wanted to remove anything from here or even edit names, there is this pen icon. So you can click on that and then type in a special name. So if I wanted it to be, mobile orders for Courtney or something like that, you can customize that as needed and hit save changes. And it will go ahead and update that favorite section with that special title. And now you have a quick link to it. So as you start to add your own, it will slowly but surely bump off the standard 12 that are here, and then it becomes really usable for you. So moving along from that, obviously, since this is the essentials class, I'm not going to dive super in depth into everything. It's more of a, here's a good introduction and overview into the most important things for you to learn at this point. And then of course, as we continue on, there are other training opportunities for you. So design a solution design process, just some high level information for you about what our technology solutions experts do for you on your accounts when working on large projects. So across all those 6 buckets of spend, here is how our technology solutions experts can help you with a large scale, maybe all location site project, all the way through negotiating the final contract. And these are also examples that you can click into and see for what we've provided customers during a large project before. And then if we embark on any of those types of things with you, then there is this My Solutions tab where you can also see examples, but in an active project, this is where we would load any kind of documents that we're sending you as opposed to keeping it in your inbox. And then the ROI tool is kind of the same thing for those large scale projects. When you decide, you narrow it down to an option and you're getting to the point where you want to see an ROI before you make the final decision, then this is where we would upload this for you, and you would be able to see here and evaluate all of these great different data points associated to that project. But most importantly, and probably what you're going to be doing the most often, is in sourcing here in marketplace or request pricing. This is where you go to find pricing for individual services at one site, or maybe just a couple of different services at one site. And both of these different tools function similarly for network services. The only difference is, some more in-depth kind of services might be listed here. Things that require a little bit more time to price out with the carrier, require some more questions to clarify your needs with those services at your location, things like that. But overall, you just go ahead and check the boxes of whatever you need priced out, and then choose the location here. And you can type in the first few letters to have it narrow things down here. hit next, and then type in a description and comments for that. And once you hit next, it will go ahead and start pulling those different types of pricing. And while you're waiting, and this is something brand new with our vManager 15 version that just rolled out, while you're waiting, it is going to populate some other details and information like your telco for that site. So based on the location you input into the pricing request, it's going to let you know who the main telco provider is. And as the seconds kind of roll through here, you'll see these other tabs fill out with cable co information, broadband, if it's on-net, off-net services, intervals for installation, things like that, things that are often super important in helping you make a good final decision, making sure, you know, if you want last mile redundancy, things like that. This is some details that will help you pick the best solution for pricing when you get ready for that order phase. Once all of the pricing is loaded for those types of services, you can come here to price requests and see any active. So this one I just opened, partially ready. We've got some pricing back, but not everything. Ready is obviously good to go. Everything we've captured to this point is here. And then if you scroll down, you'll even see anything previously approved recently is going to see there too. But you can go ahead and just click into one of these price request numbers to see the filter options start to populate across the top and that pricing loaded here. So let's say I know for sure that I want to go through the Buyers Club channel. I'm looking at cable services along with local lines, and I prefer, you know, Comcast over AT&T. You get the idea. You check the boxes, and as you check those boxes, it continues to narrow down the numbers populating all of these filters. Hit apply filters, and now you will see any pricing that applies here. Sometimes like hundreds of different quotes come back, so those filters really help with that information. And then the building info is where you would see those details I had mentioned before from all those tabs that were loading while you were waiting for services to be loaded in the tool, or for pricing to be loaded in the tool. So you can see that there to reference it as needed, and then scroll through your different pricing options. Once you get to the point where you're ready to make the decision, you can check the box and then hit checkout. And the second to last screen is going to ask you some information that our project management team needs to place the order with the carrier, like selecting a local contact, choosing the building details like installation, secure building, and pending event. Also make sure you're scrolling down here to answer these questions. Is this replacing a service? Is this a rush? Do we need to know a desired installation date here? And then check the box to confirm you understand for this cable service specifically, a site survey will need to be completed by the carrier, which may come back with additional fees. Keep in mind, we would never approve anything without your approval on that. So you would always be aware if any pricing fluctuations happen, or as if in this example, construction costs came up or something like that. And then you can just check the T's and C's box over here for I accept terms and conditions, and submit for approval to go ahead and get that order placed with the carrier. So that is how you go through the process of starting the pricing or getting the order going for network services. For mobile, that lives here in Marketplace under this mobile tab, which once again, you can favorite if that's where more you're living and breathing when it comes to technologies and vManager. These two boxes here are quick orders, and if you ever need to set these up, go ahead and reach out to your account team and they can do that for you. That's not something you can set up yourself in the tool, but it is super, super helpful. So this is if you have a situation where you standardize your order for all new employees, for example, they all get the iPhone 12 with a certain amount of storage, same color, same plan, all of that good stuff, then you can have us set that up as a quick order here. And that jumps you straight to the cart summary and insert the details for the device and the user and such, as opposed to going through and clicking through all the custom options all the way. So this can be super helpful for you. If you want to utilize quick orders in vManager, go ahead and let your account team know, and the mobile team can help set that up for you on the back end, so you'll see it here. If not, then you're just gonna see create custom order, which is always an option as well. And then you hit next and choose what type of service you're shopping for here. Then you get to choose the device type, the line number origin type, and the device source origin, as well as the carrier information. Something to keep in mind with mobile services is this is all customizable. So you can load whatever carrier accounts and such here that you're relevant for your team for shopping against, things like that. And then of course, as you get to this next screen where you're going to choose the type of device you want to select, this can all be narrowed down further as well. So if you should only see 3 or 4 different options, or if someone on your team supports you and you want to make sure they won't accidentally place an order for something that they shouldn't be, you can have things removed from the catalog. Once again, reach out to the team and they can support you with that. And then you have your filter options here on the left. So go ahead and check boxes and it will pull up whatever's relevant for what you're filtering out. And then once you go ahead and pick the phone that you want, this next screen shows you any sort of purchase options as well as storage options if there are any, color options, things like that. These red messages across the top change up from time to time, and this is just saying, hey, based on recent delays due to COVID or due to global chip shortage, things like that. This is showing you there, and you can always hide those alerts using this link. But we just want you to be aware of that. And then once you select the type, if there is a refurbished or an option that is additional here, you'll see additional boxes. But then you select that type or that purchase option and you get choices on payments. So you can do an installment plan or you can purchase full price right now. The installment plan is between us and you. So VCOM subsidizes the cost of the phone and then you pay us out over time. You get to choose how much you put down, the term limits, as well as it will auto calculate a monthly payment based on the information you put here. Once you get next, you get into choosing your plan. Once again, customizable here. So you can see only the options you want, and then there are add-ons if you scroll down. The next screen is wearables. This can be totally blank, or you can just skip it using the button here, or of course select whatever you need if you would like to as well. And this last screen is the summary. So as I mentioned before with quick orders, you kind of skip all of those previous pages and it jumps you right to here. And this is where you can put in user details and information, even as early as cost center information is early in the process here. If you have that, select contacts that should be associated to the order, and you can select multiple. If you have custom attributes implemented in the tool, you'll see that as an option to input here. And then if you scroll to the bottom, this is where you get shipping detail options, and you can choose from your different addresses in the tool. I'm gonna go ahead and test there, just so I can show you the second to last screen. All right. And then once you hit next, this last screen is where you can add additional phones to the order. So there are 2 different options for that. And you can either say add another line with same configuration, which basically is saying I'm choosing all the same phone, plan, storage, all of that. I just want a duplicate item on here with a different user information. So that's always an option. Or you can add another line of service that has completely different configuration using this button down here. Something to keep in mind, the only caveat with this is you can add as many lines as you want, but they do need to be on the same carrier and carrier account number. So if you have to add lines, or if you want to purchase lines on a different carrier and account number than what you've chosen already, you'll have to start fresh with a new order. But this is how you would add different types of multiple phones to the service, is using this add another line of service, but it is on the same account. And once you hit submit, that places that order as a request. So everything for mobile kind of lives in Marketplace and starts and lives here. It doesn't go anywhere else, unlike network where you have to navigate to price requests. But both of those things get you to the point where you are placing real orders with our team and we're opening those with the carrier. Under Contracts Document Center, this is where any of our approved service orders for new lines of service are defaulting to landing. So you won't have to dig for anything outside of the tool or look for that email notification or attachment, things like that. It's always going to be here. After that order is closed, you will see it here. But our team also uploads any sort of relevant exhibits. For example, kind of relationship type contracts are something that we can upload here. And of course, if you're brand new starting out with us And let's say you are an expense first customer and you need to get us those invoice copies so we can start loading those invoices in our tool. The Document Center is a great place to kind of load all of them here because our team will have access to them once you've uploaded them here, and your team as well will be aware of, hey, this is what I sent VCOM. Anybody who logs on here and has access under your customer account will be able to see anything you've uploaded in the Document Center. So it just becomes a great way to put a great space to put those things outside of email and kind of confusion and who was on it and trying to communicate what you sent to someone else, things like that. It's just in the tool. You can create a folder for it and organize that as needed. And then to upload things yourself here, you can use this button, upload document, choose a type, choose a folder if you have those created, let it put a description in there, and then select your file and upload. And then once folders are created, you can go ahead and just drag and drop things here on the left. So you can see this is a service order. I want to go ahead and drop that into the service order folder. So I can just drag it and drop it, and now it's in service order. And I can continue to organize as needed. And then once documents are here, you can also download them from the tool utilizing these buttons here, or email them as an attachment with this button here that looks like an envelope. So your kind of basic file sharing and visibility, but it is in one same space with everything else going on around your technology environment. It's visibility across different users as well as visibility for our team. So a great place to start if you're sending us contracts you want us to be aware of, invoice copies to be loaded via expense. Sky's the limit and you can get creative there. If you want to set up a workflow, so for example, before I could submit that order for network services, it said submit for approval. Well, this is where I would set up those approvals under service order workflow, manage that workflow. And you can see that here, just simply click users from the left, pop them to the right, and now they're part of the workflow. And you can use the arrows to adjust as needed. And that means now anything submitted for those types of services is going to go through Jim first, and then he'll approve and Samir will approve last. In this example, for VCOM, for you, it would be whatever users are listed here. And you can also have people notified once the approval is complete. So if you want their IT team members to be notified, you can just come in here and click them as options. And then if you want to change the amount of time they are pinged before invoices are approved, you can edit that number of days here utilizing this box. And once you hit save, it saves that. And now that workflow is automated through vManager. Nobody has to manually send anything via email. It's all done for you via the tool. Excuse me here. Kind of fighting a Christmas cold, so bear with me if I have any sniffles or anything like that. So once all of the planning and procurement stages are done, things obviously come into an open order now. And this is where you can find all of those. All of the different pages under operations, so all the different menus here are organized the same. You have your spend tabs across the top. You have your search fields here below that, and then you also have smart grid capabilities. So you're going to see that same setup across all these different tabs and all these different menus, which makes it really easy for you to navigate. And as you would imagine, any open orders is what you're going to default to seeing here, but you can always look at a history of closed or even canceled ones as well. And at a high level, we're giving you the account, the order type, the description on the order, the stage, so you can see at a high level, where am I at here, pending firm order confirmation, pending a response, oh, I need to look at that, pending assignment, things like that. The owner, so whoever you're communicating with on the VCOM team while going through this order process, the open date, the close date obviously populates for closed orders, and then any additional notes provided by the team. To see further details, you can click into the ID number, and you'll see even more. For example, the billing effective date up here at the top, super important for new ad orders. So you can verify once that invoice comes through, it started billing on that date. Any relevant dates and attributes associated to the order will be listed here. This is a pretty bare bones one because this is just for a professional service vendor dispatch. But for example, when we have the firm order confirmation date from the carrier and an installation date from the carrier, things like that, you'll see those different dates load here in that order attributes tab. We also have a notes tab. So any communication back and forth, you're going to see in email communication that there is a CC of order update at vcomsolutions.com with that 6-digit number in the subject. And that's just meaning it's getting tied into vManager as well. So you don't have to navigate out of vManager to see any of the most recent notes. You can just click on that date and timestamp and scroll through with your arrow keys. And you can even respond. So if it was pending your response to proceed, instead of going out of vManager to go to your inbox, you can just go ahead and click new note, and you'll get this window where you have a subject and notes screen, and then it will save that note and associate it here in this tab. And our team gets notified when you do that. You don't have to worry about that. They get a notification, so they're not missing the fact that you've added a note straight from the tool. The services tab, this will start to populate once we have any relevant attributes. As I mentioned, this example is kind of bare bones because it's more for a professional service dispatch. But in general, this would be like for a circuit, you can see relevant IP addresses or any sort of attributes associated to the asset that are going to be valuable for you. If it's a local line, the pick and LPIC, things like that, it will populate here. Order contacts is who was selected to be communicated with for this order. Any attached files, kind of the beauty of Buyers Club channel is the service order will always be associated here. So even though we do sort in Document Center, you'll also see it associated and attached to the order. And then any related orders. So if this was a move, for example, any disconnect orders related to this add order would be listed here. And I could even type into those order numbers to get those order details straight from this tab as well. So really trying to just tell the full story, connect the dots for you, and make it really easy for you to find what you're looking for associated to something else in the tool. That's the general rundown for orders. Things look a tiny bit different from mobile just to support those different kind of services here. And but in general, things kind of work the same. You have those main details across the top, and you've got your tabs here that you can click into and see more details as needed, including that notes tab. With mobile, you'll see order history and notifications, which is a little bit different as well. Any sort of those standardized notifications going out to you. So for this example, your order is available in vManager, your change order has been submitted, things like that. More of the automated things around mobile orders are in this notifications tab. Once that order is closed, you can always find any of your existing assets here in inventory. And as I mentioned, all the same spend tabs. There are search fields across the top and then the smart grids. This is where the smart grids gets a little bit more helpful and interesting. So for example, if I wanted to sort everything here by location, I could grab the column header and drop it here to that bar above it. And now everything is grouped together by that site. Or I can just hit the X if I want to undo that. Or for example, if I wanted to filter out any of the different service types, then I could just click on the different services listed here that I want to see in the grid. And it will go ahead and narrow all that down for me, or I can clear it to get rid of that. Something important in the main grid for assets is this managed by column. So you can upload your own assets that are not managed by vCom in the tool. So this managed by column is simply here to really say, hey, this is stuff that if you open requests against in the tool, the vCom team takes care of. If you ever see that blank, like down here, that just means those are assets that are in your hands. We haven't had any part of it and you're just loading it for visibility, which a lot of our customers do. It gives them one place to store everything, whoever's managing it. And this column just makes it easy to clarify and see how you should work through any issues or, orders, requests, things like that with that asset, whether it's through vCom or through the carrier directly because you're self-managing it. To see details around assets, you just go ahead and click on that reference number here, and it will take you to this page to see all those attributes that we collected along the order process. They're stored here. If you scroll down, you'd see features, and even a notes field to type in anything custom that you would need to associate to the asset. We also have the ability to upload pictures associated to it, any attachments, and then we have all of these tabs of details as well. So cost center assignment for the asset is listed here, a history of related cases, any types of cases, but obviously really importantly, like any trouble tickets that have been opened and closed against the asset, things like that live here. And you can type into those ticket numbers to get those details. Same thing with orders. So you can see any previously opened orders or existing open orders on this tab, and then click in that order number to see details. So you get the idea, telling the story of the life cycle of the entire asset here without having to navigate elsewhere to find it. For Buyers Club services, the View Charges tab for network services is beautiful in the sense that you can see all of the fees associated down to like USAC, admin, taxes, all of that good stuff. When it comes to other channels with service, or excuse me, with fees in the tool, direct is a little bit harder and difficult to do that, so you won't necessarily see this filled out for that. But for Buyers Club, that's what I meant to, as well as being the most robust from a billing perspective. You can see all of those charges listed here. Ooh, excuse me, squirrely mouse. And then you can see the associated service order as well, and then another note section. So we're constantly giving you spaces and areas to kind of custom notes for your team in the tool. If you ever have any questions on, or excuse me, any requests, not questions, requests against the asset. So let's say you're here and you need to move this to another site. In the hamburger menu, you can click on that and it will provide a drop down of all of the different order requests against the asset. So I can move it, I can request to upgrade it, I can return the contract, I can open the trouble ticket, or I can do a disconnect order against it as well. And something else to note in the tool, and this is just across the board, not here with these orders, but whenever you're opening anything from vManager, it's going straight into the queue of the team member on the vCom side that works it. So it's by far the quickest way to get your needs addressed. So whether that's opening a trouble ticket, that goes straight to our Knox queue to start resolving that issue. If it's a move, upgrade, return request, that goes straight to our teams queue so they can get that order placed. Our project management team, things like that. If you're opening a sourcing request, as I previously reviewed, that goes to our telecom analysts teams queue. So as I mentioned, really utilizing the tool to open requests is the best way, the easiest, fastest way. And you don't have to worry, was that request opened? You already know if it's in the tool, it's been opened and being addressed. And then it's a good jumping off point for our team to ask any additional questions as needed or follow up with you on that request. So eliminating any email communication that says, hey, great, I need this. Okay, let me go ahead and open that. Okay, confirming this is now open, and then communicating on it. This is like saying, hey, great, you've already self-serviced and opened it, and now all we got to do is talk about any kind of special needs that you have around that we can support for you. I can go ahead and quickly show you what a mobile asset looks like as well, since once again, it's a little bit different technology-wise, so we have different support here. If you scroll to the right in the main grid, you will see the IMEI and the SIM columns here, so just providing those details here for you. But it works the same in general as you have your search fields, your smart grid, and then to get full details for the asset, you go ahead and just click in that reference number. And now you'll see all the details against your mobile asset. If you scroll to the bottom of that first tab, unbilled usage information is super awesome. So up to this point, what are you looking at usage-wise against this device for minutes, data, and text? And then in the hamburger menu, you have a lot of other different options for mobile, as well as to support, all the different requests against the mobile devices and assets. But you also have open trouble ticket here as well. So open trouble ticket is kind of all over the board. You have all the different tabs of details and information, cost center again, tickets again, orders again, charges as well. When it comes to charges, no matter what product you're utilizing or channel you're utilizing to procure it, whether that's Buyers Club or brokerage or expense, things like that, you're always going to see charges associated. And that's just the nature of billing with mobile devices, which is great. Everything is charged back to the phone number. So for mobile, you'll always see the charges tab filled out. Change history, just to track anything that's been updated against the asset. So if you're ever updating that name, you'll see that tracked name change in the history, or any of the attributes associated or notifications, things like that. And speaking of notifications, if this phone received any usage alert notifications, you would see that listed here and can click on the time and date stamp to see the details of the notification. And then once again, notes. So there's notes all over and giving you options to notate what you would like to against your assets here. So I've talked about Open Trouble Ticket a couple of times. They're obviously here in the button at the bottom or in the hamburger menu. But if you ever need to open a trouble ticket against more than one asset at a time, for an example, you can just click on the checkboxes that are in the left of this grid. And then this bubble will pop up with the number, and you can then open trouble ticket here again. There are other types of requests you'll be able to do as well, but Open Trouble Ticket is how you can start a trouble ticket against multiple assets at once. Okay, I do see a question in the chat. Oh, you got an answer? Okay, great. I didn't hear you, Debbie. If you were talking, I didn't hear you even if you were unmuted. So I apologize for that, but I'm glad you utilized the chat. Thank you so much. But if you have any other questions, I guess just drop them in the chat, because if you unmuted, unfortunately, I didn't hear that. Sorry about that. But I'm glad I answered the question. Okay, so opening trouble tickets for multiple, but whether it's multiple or not, it looks the same from this point. You hit open case, and now you type in the details of that trouble ticket. So put in a subject, select an issue. These issues are pre-populated based on the type of service you open the trouble ticket against. So I can just say this as an example. Select a severity, so let us know that here. It's always going to default to showing you as the ticket contact, but if it needs to be somebody else, you can just select them from the drop-down menu and remove yourself by hitting the X button here. Or you can add a brand new contact if they're not in the tool yet. And then in the comments, we oftentimes ask for, what are the details of the trouble disruption you're experiencing? How long have you been experiencing it? And have you already done anything yourself to try and troubleshoot? Just leave all those types of details here. That kind of sets up our team the best as possible for talking through the issue with the carrier and communicating, anything you may have already tried, things like that. And then you can enter different email addresses here. Copy the end user for mobile device. That's going to be an option. So if you want this device copied, you can let their email here so that they get notified on trouble ticket issues as well. And then any attachments as needed. But all in all, once you hit save, that opens this trouble ticket request that our NOC team gets. And now you'll be able to find that under tickets, trouble tickets, the mobile tab. So I was looking at a mobile device, which is why it brought me straight to the mobile tab. But you get the idea by now. Different spend tabs here to find the different services you're looking for, different field options, and then anything open would default here, but you can always look at closed and canceled too. So for different trouble tickets, I'm going to go ahead and let's see, scroll through. Let's look at this one for this cable service. Very similar to orders. You can see the managed by fields, because once again, there are self-service trouble tickets you can open as well against self-managed assets. But when you click on that ID number, you've got your information across the top here, the comments that were left, and then any notes and communication back and forth. So very similar to orders. Anytime you see an email communication come through, you're going to see a CC of ticket update at vcomsolutions.com, and then that subject is going to contain that ticket number. So that's just how you know this is getting tracked in vManager, so you don't have to dig for it in your inbox. You can just find it here associated. And then you also have a contacts tab, an inventory tab, so you don't have to navigate out of the ticket to find any relevant inventory attributes. And then an attached file again, if you need to associate anything to this ticket that might be helpful for the team. If you're ever wondering about escalations, I can show you in a second here where you can find that those details and how to do that. But the escalation level of the current open ticket is going to be here in the top right. And that's where you can see if it's at a 0, there's no escalation on it. And then it goes through 1 through 4, 4 being the maximum escalation. All right, so jumping into invoices here, this is where all invoices are going to load across all technologies and all products that we have. And just in case you are still a little bit unfamiliar, for products, what I mean by is Buyers Club, and are also, or not products, excuse me, different channels are loading. We have Buyers Club, we have brokerage, and then we have expense. So expense being the lightest kind of version, it means you're just uploading things starting from the invoices page. You haven't gone through any planning, procurement, or ops. Brokerage, meaning we've been able to help you procure the asset and maybe we're doing operations on it for you as well. But that invoice is still a retail invoice between you and the carrier. It's in your name. And then Buyers Club means we're going through absolutely everything on your behalf. And that invoice is consolidated no matter what carrier, it's consolidated to one invoice. So that's also a benefit of Buyers Club. We're helping you narrow down the amount of invoices you're processing. And it also means that we can give you the most robust details in the tool as well, because we have that separate channel we're kind of going through with the carrier and contracted pieces of information that we're asking for to be able to give you the best data. So that's just kind of the different channels you can go through to procure services through vCom. And no matter what channel, all those different types of invoices do load here, but they do look a little bit different based on the different channels. So for example, a network quantum shift invoice, you can click on that by clicking on the invoice number on the left, and you'll see a breakdown by the different vendors. Since I mentioned they are, carrier agnostic invoices, everything is consolidated on one. You can also see a breakdown by the different service types. And a lot of our customers love this breakdown by location. So we can give you this much detail because we are capturing that from the carriers through this special channel. When it comes to brokerage invoices through that kind of more retail channel with the carrier and also with expense invoices, we're way more at the mercy of what the carrier provides on that invoice because it's just that basic retail channel. So those invoices look a little bit different in the sense that we have charges by type. Whatever we can provide from that invoice, we're going to give that to you and break that down. We're still normalizing the charges. And what I mean by that means we're not going to use any fancy marketing names the carrier may have. For example, AT&T Uverse is just DSL, but they call it Uverse. So for example, we're going to put that on here as DSL. But charges by inventory is where it's really at the mercy is what I mean by that, because there's no asset level details on here. Whereas with the vCom One's Buyers Club, we gave you everything down to the site, the asset type, you could drill into the circuit ID or phone number, things like that. With charges by inventory on network brokerage or retail invoices, it's just if the carrier has it, we're going to be able to give it to you. But if they don't have it on that invoice, then we're not. But any details, as I mentioned, are going to be rolled over into this format. So you're not missing anything. It's just easier to navigate and view and confirm that you're actually paying for what you say you're paying for. Once again, mobile is like a totally different world though. When it comes to mobile, everything is super, super nice in the sense that everything is charged back to that mobile number. So we can give you a very clear and concise kind of charges by inventory by phone number. So that's super nice when it comes to the mobile world. But something that's a little different with mobile is the savings recommendations link in the top right. You know what, let me look at the Quantum Shift mobile because I know that that's a little bit more of a larger invoice, gives you a better idea here. Here we go. So for savings recommendations, you're going to be able to see your invoice data and minute usage with the invoice versus current. So that's kind of comparing things for you and saying, hey, you can add a little bit more to avoid any overage fees or drop it a little bit more based on your usage for that month. That's on this invoice. With minutes, a lot of things are in a shared pool, but we're still kind of giving you those details and information as you need it. And then at the bottom, any lines that haven't been used in a while, we're also going to show those here. So you can actually take action to suspend or disconnect them if you don't think you are utilizing them anymore, and you can just get rid of them for cost savings. So with mobile, we're also giving you the savings recommendations per invoice as well, and letting you know the last date that there was usage on these lines. So that's always something to look out for. All in all though, we're normalizing charges as I mentioned here with any types of service invoice here. And you'll always be able to see that in these tabs. So you can hit the plus signs to kind of expand and see everything grouped together by those different naming conventions. And of course, Buyers Club, since we are able to put more than one carrier's services on one invoice, you'll see that division by vendors tab here as well. When it comes to mobile, we also provide a device breakdown area. So you can see for this invoice, here's all the different smartphones and the types, the wearables, data-only devices, and wireless WAN. In the hamburger menu in the top right for mobile, we also have plans and usage by line. It's like a nice report that's showing a lot of good details and information, including usage of all categories on this invoice, which is great as well. You can export to Excel. And we even have a pay now feature. This is only for Buyers Club invoices for mobile or a network or, you know, our software and services invoice. And this is if you're running behind and late, you haven't mailed in that check yet, and you haven't set up ACH automatic withdrawal payments yet, then you can utilize this pay now button to kind of pay instantly in the next 24 hours. Just make sure you have an account number and a routing number to utilize the tool. And it's really simple and easy, and it can help you avoid any late fees for Buyers Club invoices. When it comes to invoices loading, obviously one of the benefits is the fact that you have them all in one space. So no matter the channel, no matter the carrier, anything like that, everything's loading in one place for your accounting team and other teams who have access to vManager to be able to see and utilize here. And if you ever are, you know, if you're an expense first customer and you are like, where am I at with sending you certain accounts? Maybe they haven't loaded yet, but you know you've sent us some stuff. This is where the invoice tracking and admin tool can be really helpful for you. So anything you have sent to us that you are either working on or is already active, as you can see for VCOM active invoices, you'll be able to come in here and confirm. So this is the billing entity and here's the account number associated. So if it's not matching up account numbers, you can say, hey, this is a new one, go ahead and send that to VCOM so they can start working on uploading it. And in addition to having your invoices in one place, we can also start helping to support you with AP. This is a discussion that happens, you know, in details around what are your cost centers, how do you allocate charges to them, do you utilize GL codes, things like that. But once we get to the point where we understand that and we understand what type of file output you need, then we can start building these out for you in vManager so that each month you come in here, grab your invoice, grab your accounting file, and all you got to do is upload it into your accounting software, hopefully with minimal to zero manual input at that point. So that's really our goal with having this accounting section too, is helping you oftentimes is what a manual process, oftentimes for customers is a manual process. We're helping you automate that and have our tool support you with saving time in that sense. And then of course here, analytics, we've got a ton of different analytics, but one of my favorites is vAnalyzer. This is for all those normalized charges, we're taking them and kind of combining them across all the different naming conventions for all invoices, and then giving you a spend trend across 13 months. So really, really love this. This is a great way to identify, why did my bill fluctuate this month? Why did it go up or why did it go down? What space or place is that coming from? And then you can click on these different labels to get more details. So if I'm looking at my internet circuits, oh, I had a spike in October because there was an inside wiring charge, probably for an installation. So you can see that here. I can click into any of these further to see a little bit more. For example, the circuits, what types of circuits am I looking at? And here's the trend for 13 months. Once again, Buyers Club benefit, you can get beyond that into the actual service. Service reference IDs being listed as well. At a minimum, no matter what channel, you're gonna see those 3 naming conventions I just said, so you can still get a lot of good information. But for Buyers Club, you can get as granular as seeing the actual specific circuits and such. And then we also have charts, 80 different charts. I would go ahead and look at chart descriptions if you have any questions about what these show and how they can support you. Some of these are blank, they're a little bit newer, we've got to add some descriptions, but for the most part, for those 80 plus charts, we've got a good idea of what you're looking at here in these descriptions. And then we also have a bulk of mobile reports listed here under reports using these links. So a lot of our mobile heavy vManager users utilize reports a little bit more than charts. So I wanted to show you where those were at. Last few things here. So if you are an admin user in security, this is where you can set up new vManager users and also see any existing. So if you need to delete a user, you can utilize this menu for that. Or if you need to send a user a new password, you can utilize this little envelope to reset their password if they forgot theirs. And then to set up a new user, you click on the hamburger menu and hit add new user. But as you can see, there's a bunch of different options. So you can also configure password rules. You can create user groups and manage those here. We have mobile order approver options and mobile usage alerts you can set up here. So a few different things here, but most importantly, setting up a new user. When you click on that, you can decide, are they going to be a standard or an admin? And if they're standard, not admin, you can get really granular as to what they have access for. So if I'm coming in here and I know this is an IT specific person, I can basically just give them access to orders, inventory, and tickets. And I can even just give them a read-only access if I want to, and only leave the read-only eye icon checked for the ability to see things in the tool, but not make any changes. And then I can even change their launch page to be inventory if I know those are the only menus they're going to be navigating to. So you can get really granular across spend categories, across menus that they should be able to see, all that good stuff. And then of course, once you've added the details for that user, you can hit save. That becomes a live button you can push, and now they have access to vManager. Last few minutes here, last but not least, is support, and you can see contact info. So this is where you can see your entire account team's information. Your main people are up here. So across all buckets, you'll be able to see, who do I reach out to? Your your customer success manager is the quarterback for your team. So if you have any questions or you forget who to go to for what, go ahead and get in touch with your CSM, and they will get in touch with the rest of the team as needed and support you that way. But of course, you do have more than just them to rely on. These are all people at your disposal, and you can click on the different spend tabs to see what they specialize in. So if you have questions about your network services, you can go to your network solutions executive or network care executive, or your project manager if it's about an open order. Same thing with mobile, cloud, hardware, and SaaS. So really clarifying that for you. And I also had mentioned an escalation matrices. So in the escalation list that's attached here, you can click on that and download this as needed. But basically, if you scroll through, this shows you all of our processes and procedures for trouble tickets and escalations. It also includes our business hours, but this does not count for knock. Knock is 24/7, 365. And then this matrices that I mentioned is, if you scroll down here on this 5th page. So this is letting you know after X amount of hours, we're escalating to number 1 based on that. And here's who it goes to internally to escalate, all the way up to our COO. And we also have our internal escalation contacts, including our COO, listed here as well. So full transparency on who you're working with at what each level of escalation, and how to reach them should you need them. And then the last thing I want to show you is vCom University. So for answering quick like how-to questions, for example, let's say you forgot how to open that trouble ticket. So you can click on that vCom University menu and then hit Explore vManager. And that same ribbon across the top is over here on the left. So I can just say, okay, trouble ticket or tickets, trouble tickets. Now I'm on this page that shows me how to open trouble tickets. And it even shows me how to set up and open self-service trouble tickets on those self-managed assets. So this is a great resource. We try and keep these videos short, 5 minutes or less, just to quickly get you your answers on how to do something that you may have forgotten. We have lots of other ones here for inventory, orders, all that good stuff. So this is a great resource to help you find what you're looking for in the tool and help you remember how to do something if maybe you can't get a hold of someone on your vCom team right away or something like that. And then to get back to vManager, you just click on this vManager back button. So that is the rundown to kind of how to navigate vManager, what you're looking for. Make sure you're looking for that hamburger menu on Pages if you're not seeing a tool that you remembered being trained about today or something like that. Those blue links that are hyperlink when you hover over them, that's how you drill in for more details. And then of course, this ribbon across the top is how you find what you're looking for in our tool. Were there any additional questions or thoughts? I didn't see anything in the chat, but no problem.
No. Anything, can you hear me now?
I can hear you now, yay.
Okay. Yeah, my mic was not, it was not on the correct mic.
Oh no. Well, I'm glad you got that figured out.
Yeah, very good, very informative. Yeah, definitely good. I've worked with systems before, but never this deeply. In the past, I would have my person, my CSM, and then I would ask them, hey, can you run, a report for this, or can blah, blah, blah do this? And this is better to be able to just go in and do it myself. So it's good to know
Awesome.
they're there if I need something, but it was really good. You were very thorough.
Awesome. I'm glad to hear that. And thank you for that feedback. Yeah, looking forward to kind of showing you that. There's a lot in reports, so definitely something we can dive into you more with kind of separately as well. But glad to hear this was a good overview for you, and look forward to you continuing to use the tool. And something else that I always like anybody you talk to likes to make sure you know too is we get our best enhancements and feedback on vManager from our customers. So as you start utilizing it more, if you have ideas or if you think to yourself, oh my gosh, it would be so much better if it had this there or also had this as an option, things like that, please let your account team know. We take that to heart. And that's truly how we build out kind of our roadmap for our software. So keep that in mind as you keep learning and adopting the tool, and we would love to hear it.
Sounds great. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Debbie. Have a great holiday season, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.
You too. Bye-bye.